everybody, how you doing? I'm Rusty Nelson, and welcome out. Grab my last swig of coffee there. Right after this, I'm going to head out to the doctor, so hopefully I get this done to get out there. I am down here in Florida, Central Florida, in the Villages. And for those of you that haven't joined me before, I used to be a storm chaser. And I would guide people in the Midwest from Texas all the way up to Canada, chasing tornadoes. Yes, just like Twister, that crazy kind of stuff. But since I've stopped doing this, actually this is the first year I haven't done it. I kind of miss it. I try to watch out for the hurricanes and the storms that can happen with us. Now, for Central Florida and the Villages, most of the time what we're really concerned about is actually tornadoes that are spawned off of hurricanes. And I don't want to get too in-depth in that right now. You just hear me refer to the dirty side of a hurricane. Hang around till the end because I'm going to tack on a more in-depth explanation of what the dirty side is from a hurricane onto the end of this from a previous video that I did, so you can watch that. And speaking of previously done videos, I did one on surge protectors, and I guess a lot of you, I did it with Lenhart Electric. I called them up. I had researched a whole home surge protector that I decided that that's the one I wanted, and it needed to be installed by a professional electrician because of the warranty they have and so on and so on. But I explained that. I did that video. I will put that video right up here someplace. And because of that, when we did it, they actually said that they would give people a discount having this installed. And all you have to do is, I guess, is mention my name that you saw it on the video, or this video, I guess, Rusty Nelson from the Villages video, and they will give you the discount. But what also happened with that was, as I researched this, trying to learn how to protect my house from surge protection a little bit further, I also found out there's some other things that I wanted to add on. So they've actually created packages that you can get everything done of various different levels. And they're coming next week, of course, right after this storm. Not their fault, it's just when I could get it scheduled. And I'm going to do a video on that. So I'll show you what those packages are and that type of thing. Also, if you're subscribed, I will go out live if needed from my car, and I will broadcast live from my car. Thank you so much to the people that helped me get that started on the last storm. It was kind of funny because I still don't really know what I'm doing, but I know that it does work, and I will report on that. I will also report afterwards, so make sure that you are subscribed. So let's go ahead and get started on this storm. We're not going to get really in depth to it, but we're just going to cover a little bit of it and how it might impact us and when it may impact us here in Central Florida in the Villages. Here we go. I just want to say it's around 2 o'clock when I'm putting this together. I wanted to wait till a little bit later in the day. I went to the doctor, the eye doctor, and had some stuff done. But this is a big storm. That's all I can say. And I'm going to cover most of the storm, a lot of what's going to happen. And then I will talk a little bit about what's going on in here in the Villages with trash and that type of thing, and maybe airport stuff if I can work that in. And then I will tack on the end a little bit more in-depth information about the dirty side of a hurricane. Now, let's get me off of here. And this is the actual hurricane right now. Hopefully you can see I made this big enough, but this is Florida right here in the upper right, and this is exactly where Helene is right now. And if you can see the distance between here and here, how far reaching this is pretty incredible. So let's jump over to the satellite right now. This is a large look of the Atlantic area, the Gulf area, and you can see as this runs along what this looks like, but it's pretty incredible. I just wanted to give you an idea. If you look right up here through the southeastern part of the United States, right in this area, right here, this right here, this is kind of what we call steering currents for the storm. And this is what's basically going to push this up to the right and push this back into Florida once this launches itself off of the southern part of the Gulf down there. This is a little bit closer look, and I'll put this in motion right here, but you can see the way this is blossoming out right here. This area right in here, this is kind of still some dry air forcing its way into the storm here, and that's kind of what's slowing it down. The storm itself, I just want you to note how much of a distance there is right here. This is, there's just a lot there, and this will give you an idea of exactly what is going on with us and how it is going to affect us. For instance, let's take a quick look at Google Maps. This whole area right in here that I have measured off at Google Maps, this from here to here is about the distance to Florida. And as you can tell, this had already been kind of affecting Florida already. I mean, it's pretty incredible, and that's 400 miles. Now, this is an experimental map right now with NOAA, and this kind of gives you an idea of where this cone is. I call it the cone of confusion, right down the center here, but this is not the area where you will be affected by the hurricane itself, but this is kind of, I call it the wobble cone. This is where it could actually wobble back and forth. We are located right about here, and you can see that area. That is where we're located. So you can imagine if this hits right where it's supposed to, which is right in this area, then we're still going to be covered all over the place. We're going to be affected by this storm. If this wobbles just a little bit to the right, you're going to see where this comes into play in a little bit, and how this is so tightly wrapped but takes over such a big area. This storm, you're going to see how this is, really going to affect us. Time, most likely when it's going to arrive, you can take a look at this chart right here, and you can see these bottom lines here are 8 p.m., and this is when it's going to most likely arrive here. If for some reason that dry air and the steering currents push us up, if that dry air starts to dissipate and gets worked into the model, this thing's going to start taking off. And if you look right in this kind of the purple area, there is a plume of warm water that goes right in this area. And once this storm launches off of here, it is going to really intensify, and that's what's going to get this moving really fast. So this is most likely times. And this is the earliest, this is most likely, and this is the earliest time. So you can see it jumps up a little bit. Most likely this is what we're going to see. And as you can see, be pretty much parallel at Thursday at 8 a.m. Now, the thing is these are the wind speeds. And if we take a look at this, this is tropical force winds. And once again, we're right in this area right here, right where the FL is. And if you take a look at that, that's about 60-mile-an-hour winds. And if you watch the other video, which I'm going to tack onto the back of this, you can kind of divide, if you divide the direction of these storms up into quadrants, this ends up becoming the dirty side right here, and I explained that more in the other one. And this is where we're going to really be affected by these winds, without a doubt. I mean, we are going to be wet, and we're going to see some storms. And I say the reason, I'm going to jump back to the satellite picture right here, and if you take a look at, this is the center right here, right where I have this yellow dot. And off of that, there are big clumps of storms right here. And these kind of, I call them tentacles, but you can call them trains, whatever you want to call them. That's where these big lines of thunderstorms will come in. And as this moves up into our area, right here, right in this area, these storms that are right here are going to be what are impacting us. Tampa International Airport suspend all commercial and cargo operations beginning 2 a.m. Thursday ahead of the hurricane. You'll have to find out later when they are going to resume. Also, if you have any other airports that you're flying in and out of or connecting to, you really need to look into them. I check Orlando, obviously a lot of people, but if you're connecting through Atlanta, Georgia, this is going to really affect that whole area in there. Is probably the airports are going to be shut down, and you know, a lot of stuff connects out of Atlanta. So just kind of keep an eye on that with your plans. The district offices, which is right here. So the district offices themselves, currently all district offices are open for normal business operation 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So this would be Wednesday. All district offices will be closed Thursday, September 26th. Normal business hours will resume Friday. And obviously that has a lot to do with what's safe. Now, sanitation. If you remember, a lot of the sanitation is divided up into above 44 and below 44. So sanitation north of 44 for Thursday, September 26th, is canceled. For those affected, collection will occur on Saturday, September 28th. Friday, September 27th, pickup is scheduled as normal. Now, south of 44 for Thursday, September 26th, all are also canceled. If safe conditions allow, sanitation will resume operations on Friday, September 27th, based on schedules normally reserved for holidays. Thursday, residential customers will be serviced on Friday, and Friday, residential customers will be serviced on Saturday. And you can read more about that. I would put districtgov.org, which is where all this information is put. That will be updated, and in the very top of the landing page for them. Community watch, all gates, arms will be removed at 6 p.m. Wednesday, and they are off. Now, you guys can jump in on the comments and stuff like this, but I always thought at first that it was for the winds that they were taken off of there, but I've since learned, or I was told by district, that they're actually taken down because if we have electrical failure, they won't work. So you got to be able to have traffic flowing in and out of the area. So, but that was a little tidbit of information. Also, recreation, which we're all concerned about. Indoor and outdoor facilities will remain open today, which is Wednesday, September 25th. All indoor and outdoor facilities will be closed on Thursday. So just think about it. It's kind of like a snow day for us children here on Thursday. We'll be trying to figure out what in the world to do with ourselves. Some big things I can say, you know, if you haven't gone out and gotten some water, you may want to think about getting a little water. Your freezer, I actually freeze an extra thing of ice in there just to help keep that cool in case I lose electricity. And also fill up the car. You know, most places will be open tomorrow morning, and I think probably maybe it depends on how fast the storm accelerates. And you may want to fill your car with gas and that type of thing, and make sure you're tuned into whatever radio you actually have. I have put weather radars on here before. Maybe I'll get a link down in the description to those, not radars, radios that I have done before. But once again, remember, if there's a significant change to this, the timing, I will update this. So please subscribe, and I will try to keep you updated the best I can. Also, if I feel it's warranted, I will take my car out and broadcast live, either during, before, or after. Yes, I do go storm chasing, and I have radar set up in my car, works off of internet, and it's pretty cool if you haven't seen it yet. I had a little bit of a problem with chat last time. I couldn't quite figure it out. I will do my darndest to get that down. I had it all down in my old truck. The new car, not so much, but I'll do my best. And definitely, if there is some things that happen here in the villages, I will go out and report on them. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. We're pretty lucky here where we are in this area. We have a lot of the villages works, well, actually the districts work really hard on controlling water and water flow, and you'll start to see the ponds go down, that type of thing. I'm going to say this. I don't think it's going to be horrible for us, but remember that cone, that's a wobble area. If that thing wobbles to the right, in other words, if that trough up north kind of pushes down, that steering current pushes down, and there's a high off to the east, if that kind of releases itself a little bit, that'll be forced down more towards the villages. And if you stay tuned right after this, I'm going to put it directly on after this, a more in-depth about the dirty area and what you can expect as far as tornadoes. And as the storm moves through, I think you'll get a much better idea. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me, and please subscribe. Make sure when you hit the bell, you hit all notifications on there. That way you just won't get the highlights that YouTube decides you should have. And I will probably see you again before this storm is over. And stay tuned. Here we go for the kind of added on piece. Have a safe few days here. Oh, wait. I forgot one more thing. Yeah, I'm having I think I said in the beginning, I'm having the rest of my surge protection, my package put in. So expect, hopefully, a video on that really soon. And I will have up, they put together specifically kind of cool because I asked for them, packages of these different things as far as surge protection and protecting your electronics in your house. Anyway, here we go. I promise. You're going to find out as we talk about this. In fact, I already got phone calls from people saying, oh, well, we probably don't have to worry about too much because the cone of, I call it the cone of confusion, is up north of us. And that's not true. In fact, it's not true at all. We have some other things to worry about here in the villages, and I'm going to explain those. And without getting real technical, I'm going to educate you a little bit so you understand what's going on and what to look for. This is going to be really casual. I'm going to run through it. And then also I have all my batteries charged up, my drones charged up, counters are charged up. If you look behind me, normally you'll see my laptop sitting back there. That's not there because it's out in the truck. And I may be able to go broadcast live to you later if stuff kind of warrants it. I don't know whether it will or not. But the car's all set up to go out and broadcast live from the car if anything's going on. So I guess as normal, make sure you're subscribed and you'll be notified when I actually go live. Let's talk about a few things really quick about hurricanes. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to make this technical. I'm just going to explain to you, give you some backstory, and this will help to understand why I'm telling you the things that I'm about ready to tell you. I know this is going to be a little crude, and it is, but I'm going to do this on Photoshop, but it just makes it easy so I can go through this. And we're going to take a look at a basic hurricane. Just so happens this is our hurricane today, and this is about midday or so. But I'll just move this arrow around so you can see what I'm talking about. But in a hurricane, this is the eye, and that's a definite formation for a hurricane. And off of the hurricane come these big, long rain bands that come out, and they can stretch for hundreds of miles, easy. Now, usually a hurricane is pretty symmetrical, but since the beginning of this hurricane, there's been some forces pushing pressure against the west side of this. So it's kind of looks a little lopsided. Usually you'll see these rain bands start coming out this way. You can see them starting to form out here. But let's do this. And what we're going to do is try to explain why the Villages is not out of trouble just because the basic cone, as I call it, the cone of confusion, is pointing this hurricane to come up to about this area, then start turning right and push out this way. And that's because there's different atmospheric pressures up in this area that are kind of steering it out to the northeast. Now, before all my meteorological friends out there start going crazy, I'm trying to make this extremely simple, so don't send me a bunch of emails telling me I don't know what the heck I'm talking about and that type of thing. We're just keeping this really basic. Now, I'm going to grab a pencil. And what we're going to do so that we can kind of explain why, like I said, the Villages is not out of it yet, just because it's up north. We're going to divide this up into quadrants. And we're going to make 4 quadrants right here. And we're going to assume, for the time being, but actually the way this is, that this hurricane is moving in a northerly direction at this point in time. And let's just, for sake of it, say it is moving, I don't think it is, but let's say it's moving at 20 miles an hour. And in comes the weather plane, and it flies through there, and that weather plane says that there are winds in this hurricane of 100 miles an hour. So it's kind of cooking along, getting up into that Cat 2 kind of thing, and it's moving along pretty good at 100 miles an hour. Here's the thing. This whole area up in here, they call the dirty side of the hurricane. And why is that? Well, there's a lot of instability up there. Plus that, if you are moving winds inside the hurricane at 100 miles an hour, and they're generally going this way, you can see they're kind of going around and spinning around like that. That means you have to add, as this thing's moving north, 20 miles an hour to this 100. So in reality, it's going 120 miles an hour on this side. And if it's moving in this direction, you're kind of subtracting 20. So it's really only moving 80 miles an hour. So you have a 40 mile an hour difference between the two sides. So this is considered the dirty side over here, so to speak. And you may hear it referred to that. But it's still, I'm not saying that it doesn't get more intense and faster winds as you move towards the center, but if you think about it, you're going to have accelerated winds over on this side. Now, if you look at these rain bands right through here and right through here, you're going to see little puffy things in there, like especially right here. We're going to talk about this for a second. Those are actual thunderstorms. And that's actually, I believe that's right around Marco Island, maybe, I think. And there is actually a tornado warning right there. So why do we start getting tornado warnings? The reason is because as that air mass moves over the ocean, it's really smooth, right? And it just kind of, I'm making this real basic. It just kind of scoots across because there's no friction or anything. Once it hits land, there's friction. So if you have winds that are moving along at 100 miles an hour and they're scooting across the ocean and all of a sudden they hit the land, it creates friction. And when you get that friction, it tends to slow that air down. To create tornadoes, you need some ingredients. And one of those is shear, wind shear. So you can create wind shear as you go upwards towards the sky in altitude. You can get so that it changes directions as you go up. And you can see how that would kind of create a spinning motion. Or you can do what is happening here as that column of that air is moving across at 100 miles an hour. And all of a sudden on the bottom, you drag it. It starts moving slower. That creates shear also. So that's one of the reasons why in these rain bands, let's go back to this. Right here where you see those thunderstorms, right? And you can see where they are. You start to get these tornado warnings. Most of the tornado warnings happen up in this area. And that's where we have accelerated winds, we have instability, and we start getting that shear. Well, if we take a look at this, since this is a dahlia, right? Right in this area, right here, is the villages. Now look at these rain bands as they're going north like this. They're heading right towards the villages. And this is why I say we're not out of it yet. Now, if you think about it, as this hurricane goes north, right, it's going to shift directions right here. And it's going to start heading this way, right? And if the villages is right here, look at what quadrant it's in. We end up hitting that area where tornadoes are greater, you have a greater chance, and you have those rain bands. Even though the eye is somewhere up in this area. I think that kind of explains that. Now we're going to take a look at another chart or graphic that I have, and it kind of will start to explain exactly how this is going to go over and affect us in the villages. Just to give you an idea, this is actually a current radar image. And in this image is superimposed these little green, red, and speckles you see in there are lightning flashes. And you can see where, just where we talked about, up in that right-hand quadrant, right up in here, if you can see it, is that dirty area and where you're going to see a lot of instability. And along with that, we're going to see can actually come tornadoes. Now, if you look at this right now, it goes right up into the area of where the villages is. First off, sorry about the advertisements, but like I said, we're just doing this kind of crude. And this is from pivotalweather.com in case you want to go there and go play around on there. But this is fairly current. I can scrub through this. And as you can see, this is basically a forecast of where the hurricane's going to go. As I progress through this, you can see these rain bands start to come up and approach the villages. In fact, this is the villages right here. If you go from this little blob of land right here to this little blob of land right there, right in the middle is the villages. And you're going to see those rain bands pass right over. Now, what I can do with this, and we'll see whether we can do with this, is, like I said, so these are thunderstorms. This hasn't, the hurricane has not even come close yet to the coast, but I can actually go in, and if I go right here and I click over top of it, it gives me a look at what is supposedly going to happen from the surface up to up to altitude. And I can actually kind of take a look at it, and that's how we forecast a lot of the things that are going to happen. This is the ratings for tornadoes. And if you take a look at this, the ratings are 0 to 5. And that's different for hurricanes. These are the ratings for hurricanes. Now, the winds are kind of close to the same, but here's the big difference. For a hurricane, if you hear it's a Category 2 hurricane, that means that it's projected that you're going to have winds that are conducive to a Category 2 hurricane. Now, they're saying that this is going to be about a Category 2 hurricane, and I'll read this. Extremely dangerous winds will cause extensive damage. Well-constructed frame homes could sustain major roof and siding damage. Many shallow-rooted trees will be snapped, uprooted, and we're going to talk about this in a second because it could affect you. Near total power loss is expected with outages. Now, here's the thing. For a tornado, a rating doesn't come until after the tornado has passed through because it's graded on how much damage was done. So that's basically the rating system. Now, let's just go back to this and take a look at it. I'm going to get me off of here. We're just going to go to the screen and look at this. As this hurricane passes through, knowing that we are right here, right between these two areas, watch what happens when we get close to the eye of the hurricane, coming close to the coast. I'm going to leave it right. So we're going to leave it right there. All right. This is the Villages right here. There's a big, long band of thunderstorms right here, right in this area. Now, remember we said that I can actually click on this and I can get an idea of what is happening in the atmosphere. We click on this, right, let's just say anywhere in here. We get this gobbledygook of information. You go, Rusty, I don't understand what in the world any of this stuff is. But this is something that we use when we're chasing tornadoes out in the Midwest, to forecast stuff. One area is right down here in the right-hand side, just lower middle right here. It says probable hazard type, tornado. And this is our storm right now, and this is what is forecasted for that area. So remember I said, as it comes across, it crosses land, and we're right in there, somewhere in there again. Let's try a different one. And still comes up tornado. Now, this is if you look down here, is an EF1 or an EF2. So what in the world does this mean to you? Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is as this storm approaches us, you're going to see the eye of the storm go north of us. And as it goes in towards land, that top right quadrant, the dirty side, the side where you're going to see tornadic activity, is going to be passing or should be passing. You never know because these things wobble back and forth and atmospheric conditions change, is going to wobble and kind of move right around us. Need I say more? Now, chances are slim, they are weak, and they're very quick. But you're going to see, I can imagine, probably along these rain bands, you're going to see warnings for tornadoes. And that doesn't mean there's one out there. That just means the conditions are right. And it's probably going to be very quick because these storms are going to move through really quick. So what does this mean to all of us? Well, the Villages, I'll call it the Villages, the people closer to the God than we are, have already started to prepare for this. And if you take a look at this video, you'll get to see the pond that's back behind my house. You can see if you look on there, yesterday morning, this was pretty much full. Now they've really emptied a lot of it. Over on the golf courses, they've emptied a lot. The sprinklers were all fired up last night and going. So they're draining off a lot of this water. And if you looked at one of my shorts I said how the golf courses and everything are designed to take on water. Also, in neighborhoods, the streets, these ponds and everything else are designed to be lower than the homes, so they actually take off. Intersections, they take off and take on a lot of the water. So that's one thing. The other thing that is done, you'll notice, and this is for people that haven't lived here, because I know a lot of people are just moving in, especially down in Newell and stuff. The gates are gone. And you may be wondering why those gates are gone, the arms coming down, because they can become projectiles. They can get taken right off of there, and that thing flying around is not something you want to contend with. So let's just talk about really quick, what are some of the things that you can do? So now we know that just because the eye of the hurricane is passing north of us doesn't mean we're out of it. We're kind of in the tornado zone, and they're going to pop in and out. I'm guessing most likely we're going to see at least or hear of one. Unfortunately, this is coming through at night, a lot of this, so we may not see or hear a lot of this. Don't go crazy, or just live your life and just do some of the things that you've heard on the news to go do. But some things to think about are, I'm going to put it this way because it's my pet peeve, is you people that got these tchotchkes and birds and everything else in your yard, just think about it. If they're going out and taking all the arms off of these gates because they're afraid they're going to get torn off of there, those things that are in your yard stuck in the ground, they can become projectiles too. Let's take a look at this again really quick, what the winds are. I'll bring this up. Let's go to the screen. And you can see a Cat 2, which this is supposed to come through at, is 96 to 110 miles an hour. If that comes to fruition, which I don't think it will, I'm guessing, I'll say it again, I'm guessing maybe we're going to be in for 60 mile an hour maybe. But when these thunderstorms pass through and these bands pass through, it's going to get pretty wild. So there are some things that you can do. And one of those things, I'm kind of moving things around over here. Just hang on a second. I'll get with you. One of those things that you can do is you can remove those lawn ornaments and remove any loose furniture. Remember, these glass top tables, you can pick them up with one hand. Even if they're in your lanai, they can possibly get blown away. I've seen people that actually take them and turn some of their tables over so there's no way the wind can get up underneath them. Me personally, I put my chairs and everything right inside my lanai door, and my table gets overturned on the back. Remember to charge all your batteries, your phone, and stuff like that. And if you don't have gas in your house, you may want to get your propane filled. Probably a little late for that now, but I did yesterday, got propane filled for my gas grill, because if the electricity goes out, you're going to lose the ability to use those electric ranges. Don't park your cars under trees. And the reason I say that is these palm fronds are going to take off. You can lose some trees, especially if you get one of these rain bands that just comes right through and goes all the way over the villages in your area. Those trees are going to, especially the new ones, are going to get loose, and they're going to come over. Unplug things that are in your house, electronics that you are not going to use. Like my washer and dryers are already unplugged. Those are fully electronic. My microwave is unplugged. Stuff like that. My one garage door opener is unplugged, so at least I have one that works. Things like that. Also, if you have the ability to put your car inside, put it inside. It is possible that we're going to have hail damage. And there's a bunch of other stuff, but that's about it. It's usually we're pretty safe on the interior. But like I said, you get one of those little tornadoes that spins up, they can mess up your day, can tear holes in your roof and everything else. So anyway, that's about it. Now, I don't think I really have that much. You can watch the Weather Channel. You can keep track of it. Try to remember that they're meteorologists. They wait for this stuff to happen. So sometimes they can get a little hyped up about stuff. I don't want to underestimate this, but just be wary, because a lot of the stuff they're talking about is on the coast. And because it's on the coast, the surge is what's really going to be a problem with this. For us out here, it's going to be some wind damage, lightning damage, and a possible tornadic activity. And that's about it. With that said, I am going to have my car geared up to ready to go out. I probably will have it set up so that I can live broadcast out of the car. Sometimes that gets fouled up depending on the communications, and I can't do it. But if I don't, I will literally be out there, and I may be out all night. Who knows? But I will try to broadcast live, so make sure that you are subscribed. I'm not really that good at it, so don't get mad, and don't get mad if I can't answer you, because I'm trying to get cameras going and keep myself safe. Anyway, if anything major changes between now and later tonight, maybe I'll put out another one, but I wouldn't get real wrapped around the axle with this one. Just kind of keep your head in the game a little bit. And if you feel you need to take cover, try to take cover inside of a room that is solid. I mean, in other words, not giant windows or where things can come through the window. I don't think we're going to be there, but just make sure you know where to go. If you're next door neighbor and you feel really bad, and your next door neighbor, if you have a stick house and they have a concrete house, you may want to go over there. Do not open up your garage doors when that wind is really, really, really howling just for the heck of it, because that's one of the causes for most people to lose a roof, because what happens is you get air pressure under there and that pushes up, and you'll even see sometimes the little hatch door comes open, vibrates around and stuff like that. But most of these newer homes down here, I don't know all the way back north, you'll see big steel bars that run all the way across the back of the garage. Those are actually to increase the strength of the garage. These are stressed for that. And all these homes that were built down here, at least down south, I know, were all built to code for Florida, so they just weren't haphazardly put together. Whether it is cinder block, the new concrete, or the stick ones, they do have to meet a certain code. Anyway, I will try to get back on here if I can. Actually, I'm going out with friends to have some dinner tonight, relax, and play some card games. But anyway, I wish you the best of luck. Like I said, just kind of keep your head about you, keep your cars out from under trees, and unplug things that you don't want to do. Charge your batteries up. Don't forget you got a battery in your car. You got a battery in your golf cart that you can charge off of if your phone goes dead and for some reason we lose electricity. For those of you that haven't lived down here, I know I'm rambling on here, but stuff keeps coming to my mind, that haven't lived down here, the electrical compared to where I was in Philadelphia, you used to go out when somebody would sneeze. But most of our power grid and stuff like that is underground, so they're really good about fixing that stuff pretty quick. Anyway, thanks a lot for listening. I wish you the best of luck. Go ahead and write down in the comments and stuff like that. I'll go back and take a look at them, especially if you see any damage out there during this. Send me a note in the comments, or just write a comment, and I will be looking at that pretty much all night. Anyway, have a great time. I will report in tomorrow, if not live tonight, and wish you the best of luck. Have a good night. And don't forget to subscribe so you get notified when I go live. Does that rhyme? I don't know.